to use sort of a rocking motion with my spatula. I kind of go back and forth like this just to sort of pull the icing. This crumb coat, it's not meant to look pretty. It is meant, among other things, to seal the cake away from the air to prevent staling. So now we've basically got it, and we'll be ready to stick this in the fridge. You have to chill it before the next phase, the decorating phase, and you can just lift the whole cake up on your Raisin Bran board. And we're going to stick this in the fridge and we'll start our next cake. Okay, so this cake has been sitting in the refrigerator for, I want to say 45 minutes at least, and that's good. You want it to be firm to the touch. You don't want any buttercream to come off in your fingers when you do that, and that means it's the right texture for you to go ahead and start finishing. See, you've got this base coat. It's kind of like if you've ever painted a room in your house. You know you have to do primer, and usually you have to do at least one coat, usually more than one, in order to get full coverage. And as you can see right now, there's cake showing through, but we're going to cover that with our buttercream. And while the buttercream is nice and soft, I'm going to show you how to do some pretty things with that I hope you'll like, and maybe will inspire you to want to decorate your own cake. Is we're going to do a swirl. And what you're going to want to do while the buttercream is still somewhat soft is give your turntable a spin. And while it's spinning, you're going to set the spatula in the center and very slowly drag it toward you, and you'll get this lovely spiral up on top. You ready? Some nice even pressure there, and you go almost to the edge because you don't want to misshape the edge of the cake. You can kind of squash it if you go too far. Notice that that looks like it took more time than it actually did. I have my cookie crumbs here that I ground in my Cuisinart. Very little pressure. You don't want to press into the cake. You're just gently touching the nice sticky buttercream with your nice dry fluffy crumbs. Part of making a cake for someone is how you express love. And when you make a cake, bake it yourself, decorate it yourself, it's basically, it's a sculpture almost. And when you make it look pretty, you're putting that extra effort into it. You can eat this cake by itself with just a wedge of it with a cup of coffee if you want, and it's delicious. But if you go that extra mile to add some nice buttercream, thoughtfully chosen buttercream, you're going to be really happy with your results because it just brings it up to a whole nother level. And when someone that you give the cake to, or if you present it at a dinner party and they realize you've put that effort into it, the feeling that your guests or your recipient will get is very special. I'm going to give this a little tap at the bottom just to let some of that excess crumb fall off. You know, this is a homemade cake, but it looks like you really spent some effort on it, and you can do this in just a few minutes. We just want to do a little finish work on our chocolate cake with our white vanilla meringue buttercream. I've filled a paper cone with more of the same buttercream, and I have a small-ish star tip. I think this is I want to say it's a 22, I'm not sure. Just not a huge one, guys. To the side and you release your pressure. So you're making something that's kind of teardrop shaped, and this is called a shell border. So here we go, we're going to start with that. Some of the border between the cake and the plate was ever so slightly scruffy. And now see, it just looks nice and clean. It's just kind of good looking. And we're going to try dare I say, succeed in doing a little texture work on the side. This is similar to what I was doing earlier, where I was rocking the buttercream onto the cake. And you know, if you need to do it a couple of times just to make sure you've got it the way you want it. I'm a little obsessive. Sometimes I can't stop. Now we're just going to clean off the top. We're going to do a design on top which is going to kind of echo the straight lines that we've already done on the sides of the cake. And we're just going to do some back and forth all the way down the cake just to give it a nice straight line. There's nothing on the outside of this cake that suggests that there's chocolate. So I have a little bit of ganache here that is nice and soft. It's got a nice texture. It's going to pour. Now I have a paper cone. Let me show you how you make this. You're going to get a sheet of parchment off of your roll, and you want to break off a piece that's square, and then you fold it in half so that you get 2 triangles. And you can poke a knife in there and kind of cut it really easily, or you can use a scissors. And then here's where the tricky part comes. In order to make a cone, the cone tip is going to be up here. So you take the 2 ends and you fold them inward. Now this is one of those, what did he do? Let me show you again. You've got your cone, and you're going to take the tip and then the other tip and bring them together in the back so that you have your cone already made. And then all you really need to do is just fold down the edge. You can use tape, but I've been finding that tape won't really stay, especially if you're doing anything even remotely greasy.